we'll move on to Conte then, because obviously it's been a bit of a... He's had a meltdown, and he's come out and absolutely slammed the players. I did a reaction to it, and I'm not saying that he was wrong in his opinions, but for me to do all that publicly, he basically set fire to it and walked away from it and went, "It's nothing to do with me." Yeah. But obviously we've got a Spurs fan. How do you feel, Craig?
I love it.
Really?
I absolutely loved every second of it. And I might be in the minority here with Spurs fans, and fair enough, but this is how I feel. When I was watching that, I was seeing a man, one that was speaking his mind, speaking from the heart, and I feel like that's what we lack. I know managers can't go around every week saying exactly what's on their mind and exactly how they feel, because, you're going to upset people and you've got a team to run, you've got to be respectful to the club. But this is a man at the end of his tether. He's hit breaking point, and I've hit breaking point as a Spurs fan ages ago, and I think a lot of Spurs fans have. You're seeing a club, I think they've won one trophy he said they won nothing, Daniel Levy, but he's actually won one trophy in his tenure in 20-something years. That's diabolical. Now, I know some fans are going to point to the fact that when Levy came in, we was a mid-table mediocrity team. That's true. Throughout the whole 90s, we were pretty much poor, other than winning the FA Cup in the early 90s. But we were poor throughout the whole 90s. Levy comes in, has this vision, cool. He's built the club to a certain level, right? We're a top 6 club, kind of semi-regularly in Champions League. He's taken us to Champions League finals. He's had us challenging for the league at one point. Cool. He's built it up. But the reality is you need to deliver silverware to keep fans happy, because other fans are going to banter you, and you just need to quench the appetite for what the fans actually want.
Tell me specifically what you liked about what he said specifically.
Okay, specifically about what Conte said. I agree with him. I don't think a lot... I'm not going to say all the players, because he said the players in general, but I think the majority of the players at Spurs, especially the core group from the Pochettino era that seem to still be there, can't deal with pressure. They don't like pressure. I've said this time and time again. When it's time to deliver something or go that extra mile, a lot of these players that played in the Pochettino team proved it time and time again that they were not ready to take the next step. That's the first thing, right? And I know he hasn't won anything, but I'm not putting Harry Kane in that box. I think Harry Kane, even if you ask Conte himself, I think he wants to... Listen, let me finish. I know Conte wants to group them as players and not single people out. That's why he's just talking about the players. But I think if Harry Kane went and knocked on his door and had a conversation with him, I'm sure Conte would truthfully say, I believe you've got ambition. I believe you're one of the special players in the team that probably can deal with this. But he's got to group them all. That's the first thing. The next thing is, as much as I love the club and I want to come back, I have to agree with an extent to what he said about the ownership. I know he's kind of backpedaled. I think I've seen in certain things they've been saying that he wasn't talking about the ownership. But that is the reality of Spurs. I think there's a culture at Spurs that is too comfortable, that isn't ready to make the step up and actually go out and win things.
He talked about heart, desire.
Yeah, because he spoke about the spirit, right? Yeah. Now, I can't speak for the spirit of the players, because that's something you need to be in there day in, day out and work with these human beings to understand spirit and see. I've watched them, yeah, it looks like they're lacking spirit, but like I said, that's why when people are getting angry with him about how he's speaking about these people, he's the perfect person to do it, because he lives it day in, day out. He speaks to these individuals. And this is a pattern. We've seen many managers come and go now, before Pochettino and after Pochettino. That was the only real consistency for a sustained period. You can change the manager, you can change the players, but there's one common denominator at Spurs, and it is the owners. It's the way that... And it's like you, Brian, right? If something goes wrong with anything here, whose head does it land on? Yours, right? It don't land on the manager or the person you hired to run the club. It runs on the owners and the people. These are the owners. So when something's not going right, or when things are going tits up, it lands on your shoulders. I don't want to hear about the manager taking all of the criticism or the players taking all the criticism. They have to take some of it, but the owners are the ones it falls on.
He was mainly pointing at the players.
The players haven't been good enough.
Yeah, but
I've said this, they're not good enough.
The club and the culture is a massive, massive problem. And I think, I don't even need to know the inner workings. You can tell by how transitions happens in clubs. And I think ever since like Mourinho getting sacked just before the final, bringing in Ryan Mason, there was no plan. Then like Nuno Espirito Santos, no plan. And I feel like it's like almost making these leaps, not really backing the managers properly, not having the right resources internally in terms of the players as well to deliver against things. And like, it's just sort of this weird culture of almost. And I think you've had two really, really good teams. I think the Harry Redknapp team with Dembele and Bale in it. And I really love the team that got to the Champions League final. Like, I thought those teams were like, I was actually annoyed because I was like, yo, you've got players, there's momentum, I can see what you're doing. You need one or two things this year and you'll kick on. But that lack of investment has been the reason why it hasn't happened. And like, look, I don't like Tottenham, but I like the competitiveness of it. It's boring when you haven't got no one to yell at. So for me, I would like you to get better again. But right now, you seem so far. And I think with Conte has built a squad that's designed specifically for him.
Yep.
To go and find a manager to come in and make sense of that, he's going to find it really, really tough. Because I'm telling you right now, a lot of those players aren't really going to be fit for
They're not good enough. Let me just say something as well, yeah, right? When I was doing work with the Premier League and stuff, I'd go to different training grounds and do like interviews or whatever. And the thing is, I'll go to Melwood, right? And you'd see, when you walk in, on the wall, you see all these trophies. The reminders are there. I'd go Cobham, Chelsea, right? You walk down the corridor, Frank Lampard, Premier League, Didier Drogba, Champions League trophy. So you as a player, whether you're coming through the academy or a new player signed, when you walk into the training ground, there are reminders every day, not in your subconscious, in your conscience. You're seeing it every single day. This is the level here. This is the expectation. This is the culture. When you walk into Spurs' training ground, fantastic training ground, brand new, amazing. There's nothing there to really remind you. I go in some of the changing rooms, Jimmy Greaves' goal record. Oh, okay. Like, what if you come to the club now, you're Romero, you've just won a World Cup with Argentina.
Craig is definitely
you come
to be invited back.
Yeah, I will, because I love the club. They know I love the club. Like, this is, do you know what it is? I respect Daniel Levy, right? I respect him, but do I rate the decisions he's been making? No. Do I respect what he's done and how he's elevated the club?
What are some of the big ones? What are some of the big bad ones that he's done?
Just recruitment, man. Like you said, when it was time to kick on to the next level, Pochettino, no investment. 2 summers, we broke a record. I think it was a summer transfer window and a winter transfer window consecutively. No sign. That's never been done before. When your team's at its prime. Like, it's just things like that. That's frustrating.
Mistake. I don't think anyone around the table could they were supposed to kick on.
Sacking Mourinho before a League Cup final, didn't agree with.
On the flip side, for me as a watcher from the outside looking in, I think what Daniel Levy has transformed Spurs into, despite what a pain in the arse is, I have to give him credit. Like, you've turned Spurs from a meh club into almost a super club that just hasn't got the team to actually, do what they are capable of with such a stadium like that and the fan base like that. But in the last 5 years, from what I've seen on Google they're in the top 6 spenders. So he has invested, but obviously it hasn't been great investment. But for me, when I'm watching Conte go on the way he went on, I thought, like, You're saying, oh, this club's always been this way, and the players this, the players that. You had much time to do your research before taking on that job, and you took that job on. You're getting paid 15 million a year, and you're blaming everything on everyone else, and not one point in that whole tirade from the post-match interview to the press conference did he take any accountability.
There was none
at all. And I'm like, you're talking about the players dropping their levels in this year in terms of effort. Well, they should be getting better. You're coaching them every single day. You're picking the teams. You're picking the tactics. And I noticed conveniently when he was in the post-match interview and the woman asked him the question of, and he was like, I don't want to talk about tactics or I don't want to talk about technical aspects. It's like, well, that's all on you. That's why. So you can't say that, can you?
But he's a serial winner.
No, but just let me. Like, the Southampton thing. You conceded more shots on target than you had. That's tactical. That is technical. So some of this is on you. And when you're complaining about, oh, well, my old teams weren't like this, well, why aren't you there anymore? You're at Spurs now, pal. This is your level now. And for me, you can't...
No, Brian, I got to cut you off on that.
Okay, let me finish.
I'm going to come for you on that.
Okay, mate, you can't.
Prepare.
You had 3 years at Juventus, and yes, you did great, but they also won the league 7 years after that in a row. You then went to Chelsea, who just won the league a year and a half beforehand with Jose Mourinho. You had one of the best squads in the league. So you can't compare Chelsea then and Juventus then to where you are now. You're with Spurs now. Stop banging on about your old teams, because that is irrelevant to the job you have right now. You took this job on. So bitching and moaning and complaining about it ain't going to achieve anything. And doing it in public is only going to drive the players down.
Nah, Brian, I think you got to put respect in Conte's name. He is not Tottenham's level. Tottenham should be I don't know where this expectation came from that Tottenham deserve world-class elite managers. Jose Mourinho.
Why did he end up at Tottenham then if he's not there?
He didn't want to go to Tottenham. He rejected them in June when Ryan Mason walked out the door.
He didn't want to be there at the start.
Conte was
and he didn't want to be there now.
Conte was
What does that say about him?
Yeah.
Who takes a job that they don't want?
He enjoys living in London, and he's purely taking a job from that perspective.
I think that's a horrendous.
He waited
His family's not here. Their family's in Italy. I think it's the money. 15 million a year for a year and a half. That's 22.5 million for 18 months' work. Who's not going to take that? That's easy money.
But Tottenham should be grateful to have managers like Conte and Mourinho.
No, I'm not subscribing to that belief. You should be grateful to have a manager. What kind of madness is that?
It's Antonio Conte. I'm sorry. Tottenham picked up Mauricio Pochettino from Southampton. Harry Redknapp came from Portsmouth. You had fucking Martin Jol. Tottenham under Daniel Levy, they're doing exactly what they should be doing.
No, but what I'm saying is you should... No, look, I get what you're saying, right? He is an elite manager. He's a world-class manager, all of that. I understand that. And Spurs, or maybe he's been at bigger clubs, fair enough. But I don't think any club should be looking at a manager going, we're so grateful to have you. There should be a mutual respect, a mutual understanding here, and you should want to be there first and foremost and be happy to work with the players, not regurgitate it. And then the moment things really go bad for you, go, oh, well, it's all in them.
Well,
that's the thing. Wait, hold on. This is the thing I agree with Brian. He didn't take any accountability. So like I said, I was happy with what he said. I wanted him to wear his heart on his sleeve and speak his mind. I don't like when managers do press conferences and you could just see they're lying through their teeth. However, he needed to balance it a bit and say, just hold his hand up a bit and go, maybe I wasn't cut out for this, or maybe this job was a bit harder than I maybe anticipated. He didn't take any accountability whatsoever.
I think he has historically, though.
No, but that's the thing. When he's in there talking about Sheffield and all of this, my bro, you picked the team for Sheffield. You left Harry Kane on the bench. You did certain things that didn't work. We know if Harry Kane starts that, well, we don't know, but if Harry Kane starts against Sheffield,
you conceded 19 shots to Southampton, the bottom of the league. Southampton, you conceded 19.
I know, but once you're 3-1 up, though, you got to see that game out regardless. You're 3-1 up against Southampton.
Once you start separating and going, that's the players, that's not me, I'm actually really good, look at what I used to do. To me, that you're self-serving and you're selfish. So for you to call your players selfish when you're saying it's all on them, not on me, you're literally trying to damage limitations.
Yeah, but Brian, he has a recent example of that. So, and that's what I'm saying. He needs to stop grouping all the players. Richarlison. Just the other week, 2 weeks ago, he went, I'm not playing, the manager, I've had a shit season. Like, that's selfish behaviour. I like Richarlison as a player, but that's an example Conte is going to use and go, this is an example of selfish behaviour. Yeah. He's thinking, I'm not playing. What about the team?
Going back to your point, Michael, about this, Conte is better than Spurs. I get the point of where he's been is better than Spurs. But you're there now. Man United didn't offer you the job, bro. Like, the top clubs didn't come for you, so you're at Spurs now. So act like you give a fuck.
He's at Spurs now, but I mean, you say about the 3-1 thing. If he had better players, if that was Chelsea, if that was Inter Milan or Juventus teams, they would have seen out the game. That wouldn't have ended 3-3. So that does come on the players. I don't know. You said, you were 3-1 up at Southampton. Yeah. And you said they threw away the lead.
He said, so just to quote him so that we can actually take apart this, he said, in normal circumstances, when you're 3-1, you're not worrying about anything happening, and I don't have confidence that we can just see this out. But the point is look at the stats, though. What he's talking about is the mentality, but I'm talking about the performance on the pitch. You're conceding more chances than you're creating. Yeah. 19 chances, 7 on target. You only had 3 on target. So when you're saying, it's all the players, no, it was right there. So it was actually happening in front of you.
Yeah, but there's argument to say that is the players, though. There's an argument for that as well.
I'm just saying it's both.
Are you telling me?
And he's saying it's all the players.
Are you telling me
that? He's a pragmatic manager. He plays more defensive than offenses, and his whole thing is about controlling phases.
But you just said he's a winner, though.
No, he's a winner. That's what I'm saying. That's how he wins.
But if the players execute that pragmatism, then they win.
Happen.
So that's his problem. His problem is they're not doing what I want them to do.
And then more importantly, the players that have been brought in from Jed Spence to Basuma to Richarlison clearly aren't his players. They clearly aren't ones that he believes in and has faith in. So I feel like the bigger thing is, and it's probably the most important thing is that ever since he lost his 3 friends, he's checked out. And we can sit there and talk about all the other things that we want, but he's finally checked out. At the beginning of his first tenure, his first 3 months in the game, he started talking about, like, maybe I shouldn't be here because, the quality isn't quite right and people aren't serious. He said that 3 months in, and then since then, he kind of had a good run when obviously he beat Arsenal to the top 4. We won't let that sit for too long. But really and truly, ever since Christmas, when he lost his 3 friends, he's just said it out loud.
Okay.
He said he's gone to go and find himself.
On that basis, though, but he is known to be a firework manager. It goes off, it explodes. Look at Chelsea Chelsea, you finished first with 93 points, and then the season after you finished fifth with 70 points. You took Chelsea backwards. So when you say, I'm not used to this happening,
Brian,
you did that.
We absolutely loved him, and we were gutted. We were absolutely gutted when he left, because he took a team that was losing 4-0 to, or was it 3-0 to Arsenal, and he brought it back, changing the formation overnight, and we literally looked like a completely different team. And we still are playing five at the back because of that Conte system, and it's proved
on the
Conte
Chelsea system though. It was a really weird time though, because I'm not going to take away from Conte. Like, that season was unbelievable what he achieved, but it was he came off the back of the Mourinho mental collapse and re-galvanized a team that had massive amount of quality. It wasn't like it was a huge operation. Spurs is a completely different situation, and when he talks about old teams, I'm like, bro, you can't be bringing up how is that helping anything right
Conte,
now?
I think, is a manager that needs to have the mentality in himself. He wants to be there. He survives on passion. That is literally how he operates. He's a complete mentality kind of guy, and he actually inspires, like, fires under the players, right? He did that with so many different players, and ultimately that's where he fucked it with Chelsea, because he had a massive falling out with Diego Costa because he had an argument with him. He's literally like, you can go. Like, that was that simple. And quite frankly, that was a resignation by press conference. It was as simple as that. He does not want to be there. And
he was on an EasyJet flight yesterday afternoon.
Exactly. The best thing for everyone.
Ryanair, by the way.
The best thing for everyone is just to go, right, it hasn't worked. He doesn't really want to be there.
So what's next?
Wait, let me
goodbye.
All right, let me say this, right? As a Spurs fan, this is how I feel. If I had to rank out of those three parties, the owners, the players, and him, the manager, whose accountability, right? This is how it works for me. It goes the owners, it goes the players, and Conte's bottom. And I'll tell you why, right? Because the other two, the manager and the players, have been common denominators at this club for a lot longer than him. He's been here for less than 18 months. We had the same thing with Mourinho. When I was loving Mourinho and everyone else hated Mourinho, I was one of the only people. We used to come here and I would argue because Adam just hated Mourinho, and I used to be like, I love Mourinho. All Spurs fans hated Mourinho. I was trying to tell people it's the players. Spurs fans used to pile in. They used to pile in on me. How could you say it's the players? Look at him. He's a cancer to the club. Well, we've got rid of him and we've got Conte now. Once again, is it the manager again? How long is this? The next manager hold on, we had Pochettino for 7 years. What did we win? Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. So my problem is this. I feel like the culture at the club, there is no winning culture. That is the hardest thing to do, build a winning...
The manager though, right?
No. Do you know who instills a winning culture? An oligarch.
Okay.
Look at Man City, look at Chelsea. Overnight, you go from no trophies to something.
I want to say, okay, I really appreciate what you're saying, and there's a lot of truth in there. I mean,
Newcastle's going to experience it too.
You guys are in fourth place currently, getting chased down by my team, luckily. And I was watching that press conference like, oh, look at this. If I was, because I think that gives us a much better chance when he goes on like a lunatic like that. And at the end of the day, I think that was a selfish moment. I understand why he said what he said. I understand why he was feeling it, but this season is still left to play for. You are supposed to hold this shit together.
It's not, bro. It's done.
Mate, you're in the top. You're in the 100 top four, man.
I don't care. Look, do you know? Let me tell you how Spurs fans feel. You're saying that as someone, respectfully, that hasn't played in the Champions League for really long.
Oh, you're gonna.
That's not even necessary.
Let me just say what I'm trying to say. Let me just land what I'm trying to say.
They say Spurs fans
the moment we went out of the FA Cup against Sheffield United and then AC Milan within the same week, and there was no option of a trophy on the table.
Nah.
Are you gonna tell me as a Spurs fan? Let me explain this to you. Hold on.
I think you're a bit touchy because you're right beside an Arsenal fan. No, so you were obsessed with silver right now.
Forget that. We're obsessed with silver because it's been 15 years, bro. What are you talking about?
I'll tell you what I'm talking. Go back to 2009 when you hadn't been in the Champions League ever. And how
but that's not the case. That's irrelevant. It's not the case that we've been in the Champions League. What I'm trying to say to you is...
Yeah, so now it's what?
We can't win the Champions League. If we can't win the FA Cup, we can't win the Champions League. So my point is, we're filling the numbers over there. And do you know what that does? That lines the owners' pockets. You get money for being in the Champions League. You get to pocket a lot of it, spend it on little budgets, do what you got to do, get further in rounds, bank more money. The fans don't see none of that money.
Correct.
Hold on. We need to win a cup. We need a League Cup or FA Cup. The moment we go out of those trophies every single year, a lot of Spurs fans are at the end of their tether now. And the owner knows that. That's why he brought in Mourinho and Conte. Because they are managers that do things in short bursts to win silverware. If you managers are not delivering that, then you might as well not be here. We might as well have a project manager. That's why Levy did it. He knows he brought them in to satisfy the fan base. Once we moved into this big stadium, he knew we need to win a trophy as soon as possible. Let's just get that out of the way. Let's get the monkey off our back, get something in the trophy cabinet, and then we can begin to think about a project and a project manager. It's flopped both times. Bad recruitment, bad managerial decisions, and now we're in this place where the Spurs fans have run out of patience in terms of silverware, and we don't want to have another 6-7 year project with a manager, but also we can't have these short managers that are just in it for themselves. So we're lost. We're literally lost as a club.
You sound way too obsessed with silverware. It might sound mental, but you sound like a 25-year-old who hasn't lost his virginity yet. You are too pent up about this, Craig. I'll tell you this. I'll offer you the next 10 years, right? You get 3 FA Cups, something that, Wigan have won, Portsmouth have won, but you don't get a Champions League for the next 10 years. Are you taking that? You're taking those 3 FA Cups and finishing 8th every year. Sounds like it.
This is all just a stupid hypothetical because none of this is going to happen. This is what I'm saying.
Answer the question. You sound so obsessed with silverware.
Because then I can flip it on you. Because then I can flip it on you and go, I'll take an FA Cup in 2 years and then Champions League the year after. Like, we're talking in hypotheticals. There's no point. What I'm saying to you is, I don't care how. No, this is the bigger picture. Let's talk about this season. I would have took an FA Cup over top 4 this season. Let's talk about that. That's how much silverware means to Spurs fans at this point in time. We need to get a trophy because I believe as a club we can go and achieve top 4 again at some point. This silverware thing is becoming a thing looming over us now. Hold on. And it's in the players' heads. It's in the club's heads now. It's like there's so much pressure just to win. Even little cups like the League Cup, it's becoming a problem at Spurs.
And you're talking about the Champions League.
Tell me as I'm a Spurs fan.
You're talking about the Champions League as if you're entitled to it. As if we'll get back in 3 years.
I'm not saying we're entitled to it, but obviously it's been easier for us to attain than cup. Clearly.
No. Once you slip out of the top 4, it's very hard to get back.
No, it ain't, because we slipped out of it for 2 years and we just got back in it last year.
How many Europa League finals have Man United played since Fergie left? I think this will be the 3rd one this season.
And they've been in and out of the Champions League as well. So
in and out. Is that what Tottenham want to do, or do you want to be fourth every year?
That's what we do.
To invest, you need the Champions League money, though. Everyone at the club at executive level.
Not if you've got oligarch. Not if you sell up.
But going back to my original point, I just felt like the timing of this from Conte, when you still have top 4 to solidify.
Perfect timing.
I felt like it could have been done at the end of the season.
Conte wants a payoff. It's as simple as that. He wants to be sacked. He doesn't want to resign because he wants to leave.
Okay.
He doesn't want to resign.
Well, it looks like that's
he wants to be sacked. Yeah. So, I'm just waiting for the tweet now. Like,
we got a better chance in the Europa League for silverware.
It does feel like Spurs have a history now of going for checkbook managers, but with a project mentality in the transfer market, and it's a bad fit. So, like you said, I think you need to align your managerial choice with your actual transfer strategy. And do we have any opinions around the table of who they should get next?
I think
Ryan Mason.
Ryan Mason. I think we all know who they're going to get. Thomas Tuchel, 3 ex-Chelsea managers in a row, right?
I think it's written in the stars, and I think Tommy would love to be back in London.
You think we're going to get Thomas Tuchel?
I think if you give him the money, I think he would love to be back in London.
I feel like it will be.
And he'd love to.
I feel like it will be Pochettino, and I don't want it to be Pochettino. If it is Pochettino, I'm not upset. I'm okay with it because I like Pochettino. Me personally, I don't like to go backwards in relationships, girls, and football.
It's like
but if it's Pochettino, I know what he brings to it. I know he's adored by the fans, and I think at this point, with all the complete shit show that's gone on, I think Daniel Levy will look at it and go, "We need to try and get the fans back on side somehow because they're really at the end of their tether right now. Like it's bad."
There was one good point that someone made is that if you think about them, whoever they're trying to sign, and that player is competed for, if anyone else in the top 6, Tottenham lose out. Because in every single, apart from the stadium, every single metric of like where would a player go, it's better to go anywhere else. Like if you want to be in London and Arsenal or Chelsea want you go there. If you want to just go to a big club, Liverpool and Man United and Man City have more prestige. It's a really tough thing for them. But the problem is...
And the wages as well. We pay lower wages.
But the thing is, it's possible to build a team. And I think this is when Arsenal's excuse was around, no, we can't find players and we can't afford it. It's like Leicester built a really good league-winning team with about 5-6 really top players in it with very little money. So it's possible. Brighton have also done the exact same. I don't even know where they found Matoma. Was he at university?
Okay,
but now he's talking about going to Man United for a lot of money.
When we're talking about how great Conte is, that's one thing of like, You've sung his praises, but you've watched Eddie Howe this season. You've seen how he's transformed players, how players who used to look like they were clueless are now running through brick walls. That is what a manager can do.
Yeah.
And if for me, when I'm watching Conte, I haven't seen him do that to Spurs players. I can't sit there and go, look at what he's done for Richarlison, look at what he's done, for some of these other players. Like, I don't think he's particularly transformed anyone in that team.
Don't get me wrong, right? Conte is the wrong fit for Tottenham. They've been overreaching for years. Like getting Mourinho, getting Conte. As I said, Tottenham historically, they've got the likes of Pochettino from Southampton, Redmond from Portsmouth. You mentioned Pochettino there, and I can see you were dead in the eyes because you know he's not winning you a cup.
No.
What you need to do, I think, you've seen Arsenal do it with Arteta, project manager. You've seen, Chelsea were great.
I think Ten Hag is actually a good example.
That's another one. Ten Hag go Man United, and Chelsea tried to get Graham Potter, even though he's about as qualified for the job as my mum. But still, I think Vincent Kompany in the Championship would actually be an inspired choice. He's young, he's up and coming. He's made Burnley look good. That's like getting Susan Boyle to win Miss World. I mean, you know what it is like. The woman in the back probably didn't like that comment, but
it's all good.
But no, that's what I'm saying. Kompany I think he's a fresh, new, dynamic manager. He's up and coming. He's not one of these tired Conte who wants to get a bigger club. So you're saying
he would have a better shot than Pochettino at doing well at Spurs?
Show him what Pochettino. You know what you're going to get with Pochettino. Yeah, you'd be fine football. You know what you're going to get. Do you want to go back to have the 2014 to 2019 run where you're the nearly man, or do you want to try something new? I think, see if you can...
No, do you know what I think it is with Pochettino? I'll tell you what it is. I think he would have to readjust his aims, because I feel like when he was at Spurs before, he kept trying to go for the big trophies. He wanted to win the Premier League with Spurs. He wanted to win the Champions League, and he kept disrespecting the League Cup and FA Cup. Time and time again, when we'd get far in those competitions, he'd put out a subpar team, and then we'd end up getting knocked out. And that's why you saw him. We had 2 seasons where we tried to go, coincidentally, against Conte for the Premier League. That's where we finished second and they finished first. And you lot didn't have Europe. That was a big factor, actually, as why Conte won the league that year. Because I feel like if you had Europe, maybe you wouldn't have won it so easily. But I feel like Pochettino, if he comes back now, there needs to be a sit-down where it goes top 4 and an FA Cup and a League Cup. That's the aim. Forget all this Premier League dream stuff you had before. Let's just get a trophy in the bank, Pochettino, and get top 4, and the fans will be happy for now.
The one thing that I think that was a major impact on why this is a critical appointment. This is the most important appointment for Spurs in the last 10 years, because the league finishes have been altered significantly by the fact that you have a 20-goal-a-season striker, and there's a very likely chance that he will not be there next season. Yeah. And all of a sudden, Spurs are a completely different football club because the crown jewel is probably going to go. So if you get this appointment wrong, there's every chance that Spurs could drop 5 places in the league. Because look at how Brighton are coming on. Look at how other teams are coming on. Newcastle, more investment. Like Man United are a different outfit now than what they were a few years ago. So the Champions League thing, that's why for me it was important that they get that, because if you're in the top 4 and Harry Kane goes, you're still an attractive proposition because you're in the Champions League. I think it's such an important appointment, this one.
I feel like they need to change the culture of their squad. They've been relying on this Harry Kane drug for a very long time. And I think ultimately to get to a point where actually I think it's a hindrance, because he hasn't got a very long-term future. And I just feel like trying to build around him hasn't really worked. They need a whole new team. Football has changed quite dramatically. Go get 100 million, take some space on the wage bill and actually try and reinvest properly. I think the biggest thing about Tottenham is they don't have the football people around to then go build those players, go find those, go moneyball that team in a way that would be impactful. Because I just think, I look at a Brighton model and I'm literally astounded as to how many quality players they've managed to develop out of literally nowhere. And they always struggle when they leave, but they managed to find a team out of those players, and that's because they got football people at the heart of that club.